Right now it's time to actually set up the integration, configure the integration. So how can you do that? It's also something that you do through configuration WorldServer. So you would go to linguistic, oh no, not linguistic tools, but to business rule linkage, rules. WorldServer has this notion of a rules engine that allows you to automate certain processes on either triggered manually or triggered on recurrence intervals. So you can see a couple of examples there of rules that have been created. And let's zoom in on two of those. We have the UriDemo export and UriDemo import. The import is basically WorldServer connecting to TermWeb to retrieve new terms that have been added in TermWeb and pull them in and import them into a WorldServer terminology database. And export will do the opposite, so it will take terms that have been added in WorldServer and push them out to TermWeb so they can be reviewed and validated in TermWeb. But let's start by looking at the import feature. So for creating this rule, we will be selecting a number of rules for this, or clauses for this rule definition, and we'll be specifying some parameters for those clauses. So first of all, the first thing you need to do is indicate what type of rule you're creating, and obviously we're creating a term-based rule here for the connection with TermWeb. And first thing you'll need to do is specify which term base you want to connect to, or which term base rather you would want to import the terms into. So this will be a drop-down of all the term databases that exist in your WorldServer configuration. So you would just select one of the available term bases. I'm going to select UriDemo and confirm. The next property you'll have to specify is what conditions the rule should check, but we have not implemented any conditions for this rule, so we can skip this step. And the next thing is do you want to configure this the import or the export. So you can do different things. Either you can for instance, you can only import if you're only interested in importing terms from WorldServer, but you don't want to push from TermWeb, but you don't want to push new suggestions from WorldServer to TermWeb. Then you can just or simply select this one option in the rule. If you want to have the synchronization work both ways, then you can select both options. If you select both options in the same rule, then the recurrence schedule for executing the rules will be the same. So what you can also do, and that's how I've done it for this demonstration, I can create individual rules, so separate rules, and then I can trigger the import and export processes separately. So that's up to you how you want to work with this. Do you want to combine them into a single rule that will execute at the same recurrence schedule, or do you want to have them in separate rules so you can execute them at different intervals? So that's up to the user to decide. But basically what I'm doing here is indicate that I want to import terms from TermWeb to WorldServer. The first property I have to specify then is this properties files, and that's the one that I showed earlier on. So that's the file that contains the connection details to TermWeb. So you'll have to tell the rule where it can find that file so it can make the connection to TermWeb. Then the next thing you need to do is enter dictionary sections, or a dictionary first to start with. So this is the name of your TermWeb dictionary. So that's the dictionary I was showing earlier on. That's the name of the dictionary. So you have one WorldServer dictionary that you can map to one TermWeb dictionary. In that dictionary, you may have one or more sections that you want to sync with, that you want to retrieve terms from, and that you can specify those sections by using a comma-separated list. So if, in this case, I've only configured one section, but in case you have multiple sections defined in your TermWeb dictionary, then you can add them as a comma-separated list, and then terms will be retrieved from all those sections. So that's the next thing that you need to configure. Are there any exceptions to this rule? We didn't configure any or implement any exceptions, so we can skip this step. And then finally, you have to indicate whether you want to execute this rule manually only. So that means that a user needs to come in and click a button in order to trigger the synchronization, or you can have the synchronization take place on a particular schedule. So if I select the schedule, then you'll see that I get this option for selecting a recurrent schedule. Recurrent schedules are configured elsewhere in WorldServer, so I have 4 options here, but I can configure as many recurrent schedules as I need to. So if you need the synchronization to happen at a particular day or at a number of days in the week at a particular time, then you can create your own recurrent schedule and link it to the rule, so the rule execution will happen at the time that you want it to happen. But right now for the demo, I'm not going to work with a recurrent schedule. I'm going to go for a manually only rule, so then you see that I don't have to select a recurrent schedule, and I can just trigger the rule when I want to sync or trigger the synchronization. So this is how it works. So we have a rule for importing, we have a rule for exporting. If I want to trigger the import, what I have to do is, because it's set to be executed manually only, I need to select the rule that I want to execute and then click the Execute Now button. Again, if you want to work with a recurrence schedule, then you would select the rule to execute on a particular schedule, and then you can see the first rule here, for instance, is scheduled to happen hourly, so every hour the synchronization will take place. But this is again how you want to configure it. It's pretty flexible in what you want to do there.